You're in college, laying in bed, listening to your favorite music. All of a sudden, your roommate for the past 2 years busts down your door and says, "We're going on a road trip." Do you call him crazy? Or do you hear him out? This story isn't so different from one that happened to me in September of last year, except for I was the one who busted down the door of my roommate Evan with this brand new idea for a product that I had. I don't know who was crazier at that point in time, me for busting down his door, or him for actually wanting to take this road trip with me. The setting for our road trip is a lightning-paced startup world, a world which many people only get to see the glamorous side of, where companies get checks with tons of zeros at the end, and the companies have valuations in the billions. A lot of people don't get to see all of the side streets and long stretches of highway that have to be traveled in order to drive down Hollywood Boulevard. So there we are. It's September. One biomedical engineer and one computer science undergrad thinking that we're ready to take on the world. We thought that we had a full tank of gas, we thought we had a Cadillac of an idea, and we thought that our bags were packed. Little did we know, our car looked much more like this. Now, when college students take a road trip, or at least the few that I've been on, when we're packing the car, we tend to just shove everything in, and then whatever falls out, you didn't need to bring it anyway. The beginnings of forming the AnyCafé team weren't so different. We were lucky enough to have the 3-day startup program at our university. Now, 3-day startup, you come into it with an idea and pitch that idea to a group of 5 or 6 students. Then that group decides which idea is the best, and then they take that to the larger group of 30 to 40 students. AnyCafé was lucky enough to get through all of the selection process and go through the entire weekend. Coming out of 3-day startup, we had a business plan, we had a proof of concept, but most importantly, Evan and I met 28 other individuals who were extremely interested in working in a startup. This is how we met Ryan, as well as a few others, and our team at the time was formed. Now, there's one thing that has led me through this time, and that's the startup mantra: hire quickly and fire quicker. So what we did was we moved through teammates very quickly after 3-day startup, and we found a lot of people who just wanted to play startup. There were very, very few, and in our case, only one person who was willing to give everything to be a part of this team and give everything to make this company a success. And his name was Chris. Now, Chris had an entirely different 3-day startup experience than myself and Evan. Chris came in with his idea and was put on a team. And after the first day, his entire team left, except for the one friend that he had brought with him. Now, there were a couple of things that Chris could have done in this situation. He could have just gone home and not thought about it again. He could have jumped on another team and helped them out. But instead, he decided to come up with an entirely new idea and pitch it to the group on the last day. This was how I knew that he would be a great addition to the team. He was persistent, and beyond that, he had a great pitch that he put together in under 24 hours. Unfortunately, the team at that time, like I said, was 6 people in size, and so it was getting a little bit size heavy. So we waited until a later moment, ran into him at another event that was an entrepreneurship event at school. It was a talk from another entrepreneur. And like any good entrepreneur, after the talk, Chris was up immediately to ask questions. We bumped into him again, talked to him, and at this time the team had dropped down to about 3 people in size, following that mantra, hire quickly and fire quicker. And so we decided to bring him on and try him out. And as I thought he would, he melded perfectly with the team. After this, we had the team finalized. And it was at 4 people: myself, Evan, Ryan, and Chris. We had the team that really wanted to take this road trip. We finally had the car all prettied up thanks to 3-day startup helping us with our business plan. We had some fuel in the tank thanks to Steve coming on with some 3D printing services and in-depth mentorship. All we needed was a direction to begin traveling. How we thought that we would get that direction is by going through a business accelerator or a business incubator, and there were 3 different ones that we applied to. The most important one to us was the VVM Accelerator, or Valley Venture Mentors Accelerator. We applied to those 3 different incubators, and about a week before our winter break, we heard back. 2 of them came in the mail and said that we had been rejected, and the last one we had to hear from was the Valley Venture Mentors Accelerator. About a day before our winter break, we finally got the email saying that we had been rejected. Now, at this point in time, we thought that the road trip was canceled. Everything was over. There was no point in continuing. When I was younger, my dad told me a quote from Charles R. Swindoll that has really led my way of leading a team, as well as the way that I live my life. And that quote goes like this: "Life is 10% what happens to you, and 90% how you react to it." This means that when the road gets tough, when there's a storm on your road trip, you don't just turn around and go home. You don't pull over for the night. You keep on pushing through and try to get to the next milestone. So in that spirit, I came up with a plan. I decided that we would go for a provisional patent and move forward through a Kickstarter campaign, a crowdfunding campaign. On January 28th, we went to turn in our provisional patent. I remember going into this giant gray building that just screamed lawyer's office. And then as we sat down in the meeting and handed over the documents, signed all of the legal things, I remember my phone going off and decided not to answer it because we were in an important meeting. So we came back out to my car, and I sat down, and I decided to reach in my pocket, pull my phone out, and listen to the voicemail. I will never forget this voicemail. "Hey Logan, this is Liz calling from Valley Venture Mentors. I have some surprising and hopefully exciting news. One of the 36 teams has just dropped out of the accelerator, and we have one spot open. AnyCafé is the next ranked team. If you guys want the spot, give me a call back, and I'll let you in." Moments after continuously high-fiving Chris, who was with me to turn in the provisional patent document, and screaming like a 12-year-old girl at a Justin Bieber concert, we decided to call her back and accept the spot. Fast forward just a little bit. We won 4 different awards from the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, and then won another award at the banquet to receive those 4 awards. We finished in the Valley Venture Mentors Accelerator. We came all the way to the finals as a team that wasn't even supposed to be in it. We were in the top 12 out of 36 teams. We ended up coming out of that accelerator with $6,000 in grant money. So at this point in time, the AnyCafé team had gotten about $10,000. That piqued the interest of tons of investors in the Springfield area. And that was how we met one of our investors. Brought on $75,000 worth more money. And that was how the AnyCafé team was finally beginning to merge onto the highway and begin that long road trip ahead to drive down Hollywood Boulevard. Now, when you're trying to find the highway, and even when you're on the highway, you need signs to help you so that you can know which way you need to go so you can get to where you want to be. Those signs in the startup world present themselves as mentors. And there are 3 real key kinds of mentors. There's the first kind. It's a lot like speed limit signs, right? They help you keep your pace, and they come in and out of your field of view every so often, making sure that you don't go too fast, making sure that you don't skip over anything and move too slowly. There's the second kind, which are a lot like mile markers. And these mentors like to focus on all the things that you accomplish in the distance that you've traveled, how many different milestones that you've hit to date. Now there's the third kind, the kind of mentor that doesn't just pass in and out of your field of view every so often, the kind of mentor that keeps an open and honest discussion with you 24/7. And this kind of mentor is most like a GPS. Constantly in your field of view and constantly creating that dialogue that will help you get through the problems that you're having right now and to that next milestone. Now you might be thinking, these mentors are so great, how do you even get a hold of them? Well, it's a lot easier than you might think. The hardest part about reaching out to a mentor is getting over your fear of talking to a stranger. And so really, that's what you have to get over. You just have to send an email to them. Give a phone call to their secretary, send an email to their secretary, try and set up a lunch with somebody you know who knows them. There's tons of ways to get a hold of these people, and you just have to get creative with it. Now, something that's really important about mentors that a lot of people overlook is that when mentors give you advice, it's just that. It's advice. You don't have to follow it right to a T. You need to bring it back to your team, look at it, and evaluate whether or not you want to follow their advice or go a completely different direction, because they might not know something that you think you know, or have that gut feeling that you have. Now, 1 year ago, if you had told me that I was going to be on a stage talking to this audience about how I had assembled a team, built a company, and had a production-ready product that was going to be put out, I would have called you crazy. But this is what can happen when you have a team that's extremely persistent and passionate about what you're doing. This is what can happen when you are open, honest, and transparent with your mentors. This is what has happened to the AnyCafé team, and I cannot wait to meet the next set of mentors who will help us get to the next milestone. Thank you.